Thank you everyone for being here. We have a packed house. So I am going to jump right into our introductions. As you know, this room is packed because we have an amazing panel of people. To my immediate left here, I'm going to start by introducing Laura Burkhart, Global Talent Acquisition Lead for Global Business Solutions at TikTok. With a career spanning over 15 years, Laura is an expert on talent acquisition, having held roles at Sony Music, Superfly, Spotify, in addition to her role at TikTok. As the head of hiring efforts for the Global Business Solutions team, Laura plays a pivotal role in attracting talent that contributes to the platform's global success. She's also a content creator. Follow her, you'll tell everyone how to follow you, who features her bearded Brussels Griffin, Hendrik, on the TikTok platform regularly. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here.
Kanini Ayo Holder is AI Integration Manager, DEI GPT, at Create Lab Ventures, excellent branding, by the way, is an inclusive marketing and AI ethics expert and also a diversity consultant. With 3 National Endowment for the Humanities Awards and an extensive background in education and interactive theater, she transforms learning experiences for corporations, schools, and nonprofits. She's been awarded a Colin Powell Fellowship for Policy Study, Coro Educational Leadership Collaborative, and Award, and she's published numerous publications, spoken at varieties of organizations, Columbia University, NYU, South by Southwest on equity and the future of work. She is also a certified diversity trainer for clients including the American Red Cross and Magna Global. Welcome.
I'm so excited, if you haven't noticed.
She is. To her immediate left, we're joined by Vanessa Sandoval, Senior Director, Head of Engagement and Belonging at Hearst Magazines. There, she works as a business partner to the international business team, providing talent management, organizational design, and core HR knowledge to senior leaders, as well as working as a strategic business and talent coach. Her previous positions included roles as the Global Director of People at the tech startup SeatGeek, Director of Human Resources for national health nonprofit Planned Parenthood Federation of America, and Talent Management Manager for 24/7, a fashion and creative recruitment firm. Vanessa has her BA in Linguistics from Georgetown and a Master's in Education from the University of Pennsylvania. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. Good to see a full room.
And then last but not least, we have Angelique Tewelde, video lead for U.S. agency video team at Google, with over a decade of experience in media across radio, publicity, TV, global brand strategy, publishing. She's done it all. Marketing and sales. Her work has focused on fostering connection and guiding companies, clients, and their customers in achieving their goals. At Google, she's closed over $1.6 billion in ad revenue with advertisers across the Google and YouTube business in the last 3 years. She's the money lady, that's the bag lady there. Her diverse background includes experiences at Hot 97 radio station here in New York, NBC Universal, Starcom MediaVest, Hearst, Condé Nast, and Google. She is a graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University and the master's program at Columbia University. Welcome our panel.
Thank you for having me.
Woo, that was a mouthful. Okay, but now, even though I just gave you their background, I like to start with having everyone answer the question of how you got here, right? In your own words, how would you string together your own journey that put you in the position you are now at sort of the intersection of media and tech? I'm going to start with Laura.
Sure. If I had to use just one word, I'd say scrappy. When I moved to New York City, it was to be an actress, but it turns out I was a much better bartender. So once I kind of realized that I wanted health insurance, I decided to get a corporate position. And really my foot in was just a sales position. So I started as an executive recruiter, which is a very easy job to get. Not a very easy job to keep. It was heavy in cold calling and all of that, but it was a very merit-driven type of environment. So after spending 5 or 6 years on the agency side, then went in-house. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I did know that that creative spirit that I had that brought me to New York City, that I wanted to do something in a creative environment. So I sort of set up each step kind of progressively going towards more and more creative companies, and now currently at TikTok, which is a platform that I, as you mentioned, was creating on before I worked at. So.
Okay, So you were a creator before you even...
Well, I was new to downloading TikTok and was pretty obsessed with it. And I was definitely the first one around the office that was like, hey, have you tried this new app yet? It's so fun. It's so engaging. It's so amazing. And then I just kind of had the epiphany, wow, I bet they might be hiring. So that was over just about 4 years ago. So yeah, kind of good timing, but up until then had always kind of, stayed within the creative industry. So although I didn't realize my dream of an actress, I definitely used a lot of those skills in my day-to-day in terms of just, connecting with people, understanding people, that type of thing.
It's a very common theme in this panel, people trying something, realizing it's not for them, and that pushing them in the right way. So we'll move down the line to Kanani.
Hi, everyone. So love this question, love your answer, and here's mine. So I think for me, what you see here is two things. I covet curiosity and controversy, period. So I've always been a lifelong learner. I've always been trying to figure out, like, what is something, but what does that mean? My name, Kanani, means a little thing in the eye is big. So I'm always thinking about the deeper meaning, what people don't necessarily see, and I'm like, whoa, that's really this. So my brother had speech issues, and I was like, whoa, you could just do a job where you could just like keep kids company and help them communicate better? Love it. So I went to Howard University, studied speech pathology, controversy, Ebonics. So this whole scare about how Black people talk was embroiled at Howard University, and I'm like 17 years old. So I kept thinking about, like, wow, like communication is political. It can mean life or death. It can mean you do or do not get paid. It means your story is or isn't published. And so I kept thinking about that, and I was obsessed with it. And then again, curiosity. I studied, I get emotional about this. I'm really passionate about speech pathology. Augmentative alternative communication devices. So I'm forever 21, but back in 1997, I was literally studying what was the progenitor to speech recognition technology that we use today. And so I kept thinking about that, like, wow, the power of technology to unleash someone who can't communicate. Now they're able to communicate. So like Stephen Hawking, like people who literally are they're wheelchair bound or they have a ventilator, they're still human, and they still want to share. How can that happen? And how could technology augment, right, who they are and what they want to share? So did that, all right, boom. Then I wanted to be an actress. So I'm running around doing one-woman shows, and controversy. All my shows were about, again, race, right? Race, gender, class, all these different issues of marginalization. So then I'm like, boom, I'm gonna brand myself. I'm not an artist, I'm a brand. So I branded myself. I'm on the cover of the Village Voice Arts section. I'm in the New York International Fringe Festival. And then boom, 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 I'm off Broadway. And I did this show called Black Issues. And I was like, what if, well, it's Condé Nast, but it's okay, because she's first, but it's fine. What if Condé Nast had a Black issue? And I was like, well, what if I did a satire of a Black issue magazine that's 400 pages, get it, filled with Black issues and sometimes solutions? That was the joke, right? And so I became like this drag version of Anna Wintour. And we get it here. We're living for this. I see you. So, and I'll be done. So I did that show, and my goal was to get the insights from the audience, because I was obsessed with focus groups. I've done tons of focus groups to pay my bills. And so I was like, what if I did a focus group about Black issues? So I had all these insights from the audience about what the issues are. And I was like, what if I could use that for marketing, for advertising, now for AI? So then the whole full circle is Abron, who's a good friend of mine who runs Create Lab Ventures, was like, I need you to do this DEI GPT. And I was like, about AI, but I was like, I know diversity, right? And so when we're thinking about large language models, all of that has to do with linguistics, which I studied for speech pathology. And then talking to brands, I'm really good at branding. And so all of that came together. So moral of the story is your degree might be a starting point, but it's really driven by you and you constantly thinking, what does this mean and how can I make it better? Yay.
Yes, round of applause. I just love that there's so much connection just in learning. So we have not met each other before today, but there is a thread. So I too wanted to be an actress.
Yes, it's a thing.
It's why we moved to New York. And we have the linguistic connection. And I would 100% agree that what you study or your interests often sort of take you in different directions. For me, I didn't know that HR could be a career. Like, no one, I mean, there are plenty of people that go and study HR. I was not one of them. I also would say that throughout every experience that I've had, there's always just been an innate passion about finding and helping people connect. So for me, I went from studying linguistics at Georgetown and my parents questioning every decision to send me away to college because I didn't fit into their formula that they expected as a Latina from Brownsville, Texas. They were like, we're not sending you 2,000 miles away to get a linguistics degree and then not have a job, essentially. So my path was non-traditional. I ended up teaching with Teach for America because, again, innately, I was this small town girl, Latina, finding it hard sometimes to be alone in DC and wanting to help others find and sort of fill the gap, right? Or help close the achievement gap that I felt I experienced growing up. So for me, that was my first step. And being in the classroom with sixth graders, you learn a ton about yourself and about people. And everything that happens in a sixth grade classroom happens at work. Literally everything. You have the emotions, you have people needing to meet students where they are so that they can feel like they could be successful. You have people that don't do their homework. You have people that don't meet deadlines. You have people that are high emotion and argue with friends over things. That happens at work too. So that experience then set the foundation for moving to New York, worked in retail for a while, and didn't realize that all of these experiences compounded allowed me to be in a position like I am today, where it is my job to help people feel seen and heard, and to help managers and teams close that achievement gap, right? So that as a business, we're continuing to be successful. The beauty of where I work, so at Hearst, we have over 20 brands that allow us to connect with you all, right? So, and part of my innate passion around understanding who we are and what linguistic differences could put us in different places and give us access to different things allows me to come back to work and remind our content creators, think about how your writing and your one experience may or may not match everyone that is picking up our magazine or reading it online. So definitely non-traditional, but it's okay if you're sitting in seats thinking, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, that's okay. And I would say that for me, it ended up working out, and I would say you don't have to have it figured out now.
Angelique?
That's wonderful. I myself was not an aspiring actress. I think I'm the anomaly up here. But how many of you all are old enough to know what BET's 106 in Park is? Okay, a few of you. Okay, great, I love that. So that's a little bit of background to my story. So when I was an undergrad, I went to school for mass communications with a focus in public relations and business. So while I was a sophomore in college, my roommate, who was a Black communications major as well, introduced me to this internship program called the Lewis Carr Foundation. And the founder of that foundation was the VP of sales at BET. So of course I'm like, oh, I'm about to be the next host of 106 in Park. Of course I'm going to apply for this internship. And to my surprise, I was not granted an internship in a TV role necessarily in LA or New York. I was actually shipped off to Chicago to an advertising agency, a media planning group. And that actually became a pivotal point in my career because I always had the ambition of becoming a host, being in the front of television, but it really showed me the business side of how television is developed and how advertising really plays a pivotal role in it. So after that year, I actually applied directly to BET. I'm like, I'm working for 106 in Park, forget all that. And I got placed at 106 in Park, but at the talent department. So I was working on contracting, working with A-list celebrities. I met Denzel Washington, love him. And I also produced segments for 106 in Park. But I later realized that that's not necessarily my career ambition. That's not where media is going now. So when I went to Columbia University, I decided that I was going to still maintain my ambition to be in media and entertainment, but I wanted to set my sights on the business side and work for NBC Universal. So I went to a career fair at Columbia University, and there was an extremely long line for the NBCU rep, and I was like, I'm not waiting in this line. Let me just make a lap around the career fair. And I ran into a rep from Hot 97 who said, hey, we have a paid promotions team spot. Are you interested? I'm a broke graduate school student. I'm like, of course I want to be, paid this year. So I spoke to her for like an hour, and then eventually I made my way back over to the NBCU rep. Long story short, I ended up getting an internship and a job with both Hot 97 and NBC Universal. However, and I love telling this story because as a graduate student from Columbia University, everyone's like, oh, Ivy League. I started out as an executive assistant at NBC Universal working with 2 execs. That was my, kickstart into the media field. And everyone's like, oh, you have your graduate degree from Columbia. Why are you starting out as an executive assistant? And the way I thought about it is you have to have an openness to any role that becomes available to you as long as it's in the field that you're interested in. I'm like, yeah, I'll be an executive assistant for, 3 months, but that's not going to be the end goal. I'm not going to get stuck here. So I would say the takeaway from my experience is 1, surround yourself with people who are, invested in your career like my roommate was. 2, have an openness to roles that come in different disguises, like my executive assistant role. And then 3, there's always going to be opportunities out there for you in the media field. You just have to be open to the unexpected. So being an executive assistant, now I'm like selling $1 million deals at Google. So always, humble yourself, navigate the industry with a bit of humbleness.
I would argue that wanting to be a host is very close to wanting to be an actress. So continuing the theme. So we do have a theme tonight, which is the intersection of media and technology. So I would love, with that theme in mind, I would love to hear you all talk a little bit more about your day-to-day work and sort of what that looks like at your intersection. We'll start with Laura.
Sure. So my day-to-day is really just looking for new talent for our global business solutions team at TikTok, which is pretty much a large team that encompasses anything having to do with sales or marketing. So when you're on the TikTok app, anytime you see that top view ad when you first open the app or when you're scrolling and see ads, the team that I recruit for is part of that team. So my day-to-day could be anything from talking to a hiring manager, opening new positions, looking through resumes, interviewing candidates, coaching our hiring managers through the interview process, coaching candidates through the interview process. So that's really like most of the day-to-day. It's definitely a high volume role. Started about 4 years ago when we were pretty small in the US and have grown a lot over the last few years. So it's definitely been one of the higher volume positions that I've been in. So yeah, it's one of our main, we call them Byte styles. It's ByteDance is our parent company, is always day one. So we really take on that mentality of each day brings new challenges and, just being ready to tackle those.
We're going to come back to everyone with sort of your sense of what skills you're looking for and what skills people need to have, but we'll keep going. Kanini.
Okay, yeah. So one synergy is that I was also a 6th grade teacher.
Ooh.
Go figure.
Ooh.
Twinsies.
Total twinsies. Cheers.
Cheers.
No feedback with the mic tap. I knew that, right? So my day-to-day, so I'm a consultant. I will be 100% transparent with you. I also work for what is called the Brand Safety Summit. It's a global summit in New York, Singapore, London, going to be in Sydney in 2025, and also at Cannes. And so TikTok and Google are major sponsors to the conference that I work for. I just wanted to put that out there just because. But I'm here in the capacity for Create Lab Ventures today. So my day-to-day with both as a consultant, right, is sales, right? And I think no matter who you are, what you think your job is, you're in the business of selling yourself, period. 24/7, 365, whether you're networking, whether you have a job, how do you keep it? If you have a job, how do you get to the next job? Right? You want to skip the line in the bathroom, you got to sell it. You got to, So like I constantly think of yourself as a sales person. You're in the business of selling your knowledge, your confidence, your savvy, your everything. So my day-to-day is taking a lot of calls, a lot of emails, with companies that are interested in what I'm selling, right? So DEI GPT is a large language model that solves for diversity, leveraging artificial intelligence insights and curated by diversity experts, myself included. So my day could be a myriad of things. It could be researching best practices in diversity, equity, inclusion that are coming up each and every day of our lives, and new words and new terms, new techniques, new infographics. I'm on link. I'm scrolling down to the bottom of LinkedIn. Like that's one part of the day. Another part of the day is this. Constantly signing up. My inbox is not zero, honeys. My inbox is like 500,229, but it's because I'm constantly scrolling through like, need to go to that event tonight. Need an RSVP for that. I'm on the wait list for that one, right? Because again, networking, you're in the business of sales. Then I think the third part would be actually having these calls, right? So researching deep dives as to who I'm talking to, right? How long they've been at that company? What does that company actually need? Is there any press on that company? Like I am, again, a little thing in the eye is big. So I am researching everything so that I'm not like, hi. No, I know everything. My goal is to shock you. Oh, whoa. Yeah, I know that. I know where you went to school. Yeah, I know, because all of that is simpatico, sixth grade teachers, right? People will say yes to you for reasons you have no idea. It could be in or out of your control. My goal is to make it as much in control as possible, and that's why I'm always researching. So that's my day. I research, I RSVP, right? And I follow up.
Love that. I would say, just remind me of the question, intersection between tech and media, yes?
Yes, I mean, you already talked a lot about the problems you're trying to help her solve, right? With
yes.
Helping employees feel seen. Talk a little bit about what that means in this sort of media, technology integrated environment.
Yeah, I mean, I would say publishing is going through a change, right, in general. When you think about maybe when I was growing up, I would actually pick up the magazine, right? Like I was trying to convince my mom at the checkout line, like, buy me this magazine. It's different because y'all are looking at our content online. And that is a shift that businesses have to adjust to. So part of that in my role is not only, obviously I'm the people consultant, right? I'm coming to teams to help them understand and decode all the things that people are complicated, right? And they bring their experiences to work. And on top of that, I have to understand our business. So part of my role, although I'm leading the team that's creating the programs to help folks feel seen and heard, I'm also sitting with the business, in this case with the international business, so that I'm embedded and I understand, well, what are they actually dealing with day to day, right? What are the consumers saying? What are the challenges that they're facing when we're talking to advertisers? When you think about the pivot, not only from our perspective of how we've had to shift, you have all these other entities that we work with that are going through that same change, right? So there's a little bit of I have to provide them insight, so I have to be up on all the people changes, all the latest, greatest AI, how do you leverage that? And also, I have to be up to speed with the latest, greatest in the world of the media landscape. And so, did I ever expect to be doing this? Again, no, but it's part of what keeps me here is because there is a constant, for me, I love the ability to learn, right? So yes, I'm providing my expertise, and to your point on like you constantly need to be selling, you should also constantly be upskilling. So there's still so much that I don't know about this industry, and it's okay, and I have to be open and willing to surround myself with people that can teach me so that we're working together to like all of us rise up.
We're going to come back to breaking in, so you can all start thinking about that, right? Getting your foot in the door. How about you,
Absolutely. So +1 to everything everyone said. Yes. So I'm going to keep this short and simple. So I am a video lead at Google, a part of their U.S. agency video team, which is fairly new, 10 years. That sounds pretty old, but it's new for Google. And basically what I'm responsible for doing is closing large advertiser and agency sales across YouTube. So the way I describe this to my grandmother is I'm the reason why she can watch her gospel videos and her gospel songs on YouTube for free. So that's a huge part of why I enjoy working at Google and YouTube, is because our mission is to make the world more universally accessible for everyone. And in my role, that's through advertisements. So, you know, when you're looking at YouTube and looking at your cooking video, cat video, Coachella, whatever it may be, thank me and my team for allowing you to watch that for free if you don't have YouTube Premium. And it's something that I really pride myself in when I work for Google. It's like what motivates me to be in sales, because everyone thinks, oh, it's all about making money for the company, but actually it's about providing access to the world. So that's pretty much what I do in a nutshell.
Okay, so everyone is in this room because they want to break in, right? They want to be in your shoes. So I would love for you all to talk about what, given your experience, right? We have people who've been in the field for a while. What do you think are the essential skills? Where are the opportunities to really bridge that knowledge of technology with this passion for media that everyone has in the room? We'll start with you, Kanini. Yes.
So how do people break in?
Yes. Your advice for breaking into a role like yours.
Okay, so upskilling, yes. Upskilling is also a part of sales, right? So I am constantly juggling, navigating 24 hours a day, right? Finite amount of time, so, you know, your parents, you know, your laundry, you know, there's things that you have to get done and then things that you need to get done. And so I'm about to finish an online MIT course on generative AI, right? Check, right? So upskilling is really important. Like I said, do deep dives. Like I look at my phone and I look at people and I go, okay, 2 different categories. People who follow up and are serious, and people who just goes, oh, okay, well, I don't need a congratulations. I said to show up to my events, right? So think about when people invite you somewhere, or when, you know, you see something on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever it is you are. Do you like it? Or do you actually converse with the person, go to the link? Do you actually follow up? What I always say is, Beyonce's good, okay? She's good. She's good, right? Find the Beyonce of your industry. Fan them like you fan Beyonce. If you're listening to Beyonce, you know, Cowboy Quarter like 10 times a day, are you listening to the podcast of the Beyoncés of your industries 10 times a day? Are you going up on their LinkedIn? Are you going up on their LinkedIn? Reshare. Like, think about it, right? Like, that's how you're gonna get to the next level, is you're connecting these dots, you're making yourself familiar in informal and formal ways, and what I said, I guest lectured, this was like, I mean, I've talked at various amazing places. I did Ad Week, and I'm new to the advertising industry, but the thing that I'm like, oh my God, was the global head of trust and safety for Meta had me come and talk to her students at George Washington University. That just happened like last week. I was like, oh my God. I cried, because again, this is it, not celebrities. You all, this is it, right? How do we pass the baton so you all can keep running and win this relay race? That's what's most important to me. Each one teach one. And so what I shared with them is to be invaluable, right? And what was the 2 things? I said invaluable and unforgettable. Sure, you're eager. Everyone can be eager. That's a mask. Hi, everyone can be eager, right? But are you gonna share with them something about their industry that they didn't know, that if they know that, whoa, it's gonna pivot their whole day, their whole week, their whole year? Can you share something like that? I do that all the time, right? Because I'm researching, I'm scrolling to the bottom of LinkedIn. I really do. So that to me would be the thing. Like, you are who you are, and that's amazing, but why? Why am I gonna pick up the phone? Why am I gonna respond? I get people to respond, honey, because they look at me like, oh. And then I become invaluable and unforgettable. That's what you want. You want someone to say, oh, she reached out to me, great. We don't know what she's gonna say, but it's probably gonna be something that's gonna make me laugh or make me think. Boom. Okay, thanks.
Because it's about standing out. We were chatting earlier. They hear from a lot of people. And so you want to stand out. And to stand out, you have to do your homework and know who you're networking with. Let's go, Vanessa, and then to Laura.
What I would add to that, because not everyone's going to walk in the room and be super excited about networking. I wasn't. And sometimes, for me, my social battery dwindles, right? So there are some of us that are like, okay, like, we have to mentally prepare ourselves to be that connector. And that's okay. And what I would say is, even if you don't come out hot, right? There's a way to find that connection that's true to you. So there are candidates that we speak to, or there are employees that I speak to who, even like during the interview process, right? Because not every position, again, I'm not interviewing every single person, but if I'm asked to be part of a panel, it's because they're asking me to look for a certain something. And I think what speaks to me with folks who are junior in their position, or who maybe don't even have any experience, but had the courage to apply and took the conversation, is when they're able to find something that's happened in their past that gives them the confidence to feel like they can get the job done that they've been applying for, right? And if there's something that they notice maybe they haven't had an experience, they're open and honest about it, and they're curious enough to ask for help. And so for me, sometimes that one-on-one conversation, organic or not, right? Sometimes it's a formalized interview. You should always advocate for the experiences that you've had, for the experiences that you want, or for the experiences that you're curious and maybe are out of reach, right? Because there are going to be some positions where they tell you, listen, we actually do need someone with experience for X role, right? And that's okay. Your question back to them is, what is your recommendation for finding an experience that would be a transferable skill set, right? It's okay to hear a no, because sometimes a no is just a repurposed not yet.
Everybody write that down, right? What could you add that you're missing, right? Thank you, use it as a learning opportunity, right? Even that no is a yes. We'll go Laura and then to Angelique.
Yeah, I think for me, like a little bit of like authenticity and enthusiasm goes a long way. Like, I can't recommend enough, like, we live in a city of opportunity, in my opinion, the greatest city in the whole entire world. And at any given night, I've had more fun on a random Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday night in New York City than any other weekend in any other city. And like, the world really is our oyster here. So whether it's like interests, hobbies, expanding that circle. Showing up here was a big step today. It was beautiful out. You could be having margaritas on a porch someday, but instead you're here. Like, that shows commitment, intellectual curiosity, and just a willingness to expand your network, expand your circle. And I think, a little bit of that goes a long way. I love a resilient story. I love an interesting origin story. I love hearing about, difficulties that people have had to overcome. When I've met sometimes the perfect candidate, and I asked to hear like, oh, tell me about a time when. You'll hear that a lot with recruiters. Tell me about a time when. It's just them really trying to get to more of, tell me who you are. Tell me something about you that will help me understand what drives you a little bit better. And you can learn a lot from someone by what they've overcome to get to where they are. Because we all have those stories. They all look very different, but it's all how you dealt with those challenges that have come your way. So I would say authenticity, resilience, and knowing yourself, knowing your story, and nourishing those hobbies outside of what your drive to do is, because beautiful things can happen when you're enjoying a hobby that you're not monetizing, that you're not hustling on the side. It took me like later in life to learn that like not every interest I have needs to have like an Etsy shop to go with it. Just follow your passions, expand those circles. And I need that space in life to be creative, to have that headspace, to just really connect with other people that are in that mindset.
I love the variety of advice. Angelique.
I would say think about the path less taken, right? I feel like right now more people are trying to become social influencers right now, and thanks in part to TikTok and Google, of course, but that's a path that's very limited, right? So what are other career opportunities within media and tech that you can explore? So if you're paying attention to podcasts, you can hear about industry news of how like AI and the industry is evolving. Ad sales is one opportunity that people don't necessarily think about. And when you think about the large scale of things, right now, YouTube used to be the only ad-supported platform. Now you have Netflix, you have Apple, you have Amazon now creating these ad-supported roles. So how can you build your skill sets to, to align with that kind of opportunity that you would not necessarily think about? Or even when you think about AI, I know there's a stigma around AI taking all the jobs, but AI cannot be supported and succeed unless there's human management. So think about like, how can I use AI in custom content? What are careers around that I can align with? Or webinars that I can attend to get me more honed in on those skill sets? How can I think about misinformation in AI and how that can be monitored? So content moderation is going to be, exploding in the next year. So think about like these new opportunities that are emerging because of how the industry is evolving, and think of that as like a pathway of how you can enter into the media field as opposed to the standard, regular, media opportunities that you would think that would get you involved in this career. And let that be like the first step. Some of the podcasts, like shameless plugs, that I listen to are Behind the Numbers, eMarketer, love that. The Town, and Plain English by Derek Thompson. Those are my go-to every morning to understand what's going on at Google, what's going on across the industry and tech and media. So I highly recommend those for you guys to listen to just stay abreast of what's going on in the industry.
Okay, we're going to go to Q&A in a few minutes, so start thinking about your questions, but it would not be a media and technology panel in 2024 if we didn't talk more about AI. So two questions. I'm going to ask Laura and Vanessa to think about what you're looking for in terms of those entry-level, early career AI skills. And then I'll have Kanini and Angelique talk about how it's changing the work. I'll start with you, Angelique, this time.
Yeah, so for my line of work, AI is really changing how advertisers are aligning with their messaging with their audiences. So right now we have a lot of automation machine learnings that allow advertisers to upload their creatives and basically allow AI to do its thing and spit out the information and messaging that aligns with their audiences across YouTube. So it's really about like automation and taking away the heavy lifting away from advertisers. And then from the consumer point of things at YouTube, basically it's a way to personalize experiences for you across our platform. So as you've seen, like the what's up next, what's preferred for you, that's AI generating that content for you, right? So that's really how like YouTube is seeing AI really taking over the industry. And as I mentioned earlier, like misinformation is really going to be a huge thing. So like content moderation, that's going to be a huge part of the industry moving forward, and monitoring, how AI generated content is being put out into the universe and making sure it's, managed accurately. So I think those are like the biggest parts of how AI is affecting my industry.
Vanessa?
I would say, with AI, there's so much to that conversation. And so when I think about how it's affecting just every role at work. Part of it is really understanding what AI is. Because there are so many opinions. There's like people that are scared of it. There are people that are super excited about it. There are people that are trying to understand how the hell is this going to impact what I'm doing day to day, or how do we use it to make more money? Because realistically, like, you either are in your job or finding your job or keeping your job, right? And so if you as early joiners to an organization, early career, if you come into our space saying, you know what, I actually know more about AI than you automatically put yourself in a position where you're now the consultant. So if you don't or have not opened a book about AI, or it's just not something you're interested in, find out what you're interested in, what gives you joy in life, and then research how AI is going to take over that. Because, but not that it's going to like be a killjoy, but you should be able to sort of think about, how would this affect me personally? Because if it's affecting you personally, you're likely to care more. So it's going to affect how you look at job. It's going to affect how you enter the workforce. It's going to affect how they measure your performance at work. It's going to affect how you buy things. It's going to affect literally everything. And I think most folks are sitting in a space of fear because they don't know, or they're sitting in a space where they think they know because they're listening to the people that are really excited. So I think there's still so much to be learned and said. And what I would also say is, when you think about the BIPOC experience, right? So part of these learning models, part of what is happening with AI is any technology that's being like created and leveraging this automatic learning system, essentially. They're pulling from existing sources, right? That's also part of the problem, because if we are not interrupting those sources to understand varied experiences, they're just going to recreate it in a digital, like, automatic learning form. So what I would also suggest is for you to interrogate every experience that you have. Again, find what brings you joy, then do the research and interrogate it from the perspective of, do I see my experience in this automated world? Because if the answer is no, then there's a space for you to step into. How do you become the advocate to make sure your experience is generated in this AI space? So I think it's like such a wide, like, huge topic, but I'm sure you have plenty to add to this as our AI expert.
Me? No. AI. There's a lot. Thank you all for everybody that has shared all the way up until this point. Questions are coming soon. All right, boom, AI. How many of you all have actually used a large language model? So ChatGPT, Bard, Llama. Okay, nice, high five. Boop, 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 boop. Awesome. How many have used 11 Labs or another voice generative AI tool? 1, 2, we don't count. 3, 4, 5. The laughter counts. 6. I'll count you, Max. You run the whole thing. He runs the Center for Communications, by the way. Okay, so how many of you all have used DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, any of the visual AI generative tools? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So pun intended, about 12 or 15. So pun intended, hands. I saw hands, because you know the joke is that hands are the thing that, like, AI has the most trouble. You got my joke. The most trouble with generating. Okay, so a few things. One, I did not see the transition from spring to summer last year. So all of this cherry blossoms, all of this, I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning, scrolling to the bottom of LinkedIn, connecting with as many people as possible, learning as much as possible as I could about AI, period. Because for me, again, a little thing in the eye is big. This thing is not, it's a personal thing. It's going to be an interpersonal thing. It is going to transform everything as we know it to even be. like what it even means to be in a room, polite that you all are right now, right? And just listening to people on stage, like everything about how we consume, produce humanity is going to be impacted by AI, period. And I don't mean that to scare people. I'm just, again, you've heard the trajectory of my entire career. Every single time, from Ebonics to DEI must die to, Anna Wintour, right? Like, I've always thought about, what is this that I'm looking at? How is everybody else perceiving this? What's my angle? How can I share that new angle with the world, right? So, I'm gonna be doing a town hall at Columbia University, so it's in person and also on Zoom. Data is DNA, the future of humanity, while we are engaging with social media, artificial intelligence, and ad tech, because I'm also consulting for ad tech as well, right? So with those three big buckets that are on a daily, weekly, second-by-second basis, already tabulating your data and reflecting that back to you in some way. So who are you in this equation? Are you passive? Are you questioning? Are you active? Are you getting paid, right, to do it? Are you a content creator? Like, what is your role in, how are you the variable in this equation that is your data anyway, right? And data is going to impact, I remember being in charter schools, and then all the charter schools would then get funding based on data. So this notion of data transformed education, transformed how teachers were evaluated. So data is also going to transform, and AI is going to transform each and every one of your jobs, your roles, what a role even is anymore, what your attachment to that role will be, right? So one, obviously, if you're interested, I'm gonna have a lot of industry professionals, experts coming to that event. Meta, the global manager for Uber, although she's coming in a personal capacity, but again, the Center for Innovation at UPenn as well, he's going to be there. So there's quite a few people that are going to come to have this discussion. I personally, when I walk and talk in the world, and I've been traveling a lot as well, most people, to me, it's not, they're not really thinking about AI or how AI, I would do this exercise in your lives. Stop for a minute and ask a question. How could AI change this? Whether you're shopping at Marshall's or you are about to book a plane flight, whatever, think about, because AI is already doing that. All these companies, all these I'm in a lot of tech companies, like all these tech companies, every single day, they're coming up with a tech solution, an AI solution, right? So what about you? You in this room could also be someone who comes up with an AI solution, right? And again, think about the different use cases. Ad tech, right? Journalism, right? There's so many use cases. Content creating. Forbes just did a story on the new trend for content creators is that they're faceless because they're using AI a lot more. That's why. Yeah, that just came out 2 days ago. So it's going to even change what it is to be an influencer. So everything is going to change. So my question would be, what are we collectively as society, as humans, and then also in our career capacity, whether that be you're sure about your job, you sure you want to be a Hot 97 or BET, or you're not sure. I would say that when I said to be unforgettable, right? I'll also say that AI is non-negotiable. That is something that you all need to be constantly thinking about, not constantly, I don't want to give you all anxiety, but, experimenting with, have discussions with your friends and actually learn what it is. Because, and this will be the last thing I'll share, the way that, because I read a lot, Fast Company, Wired, The Economist, I'm researching. So the way that AI is referred to is so complex unnecessarily. So there's all this jargon, so you think I can't even. Nah, you can sit there and read some AI article in under 5 minutes flat. Scroll, you'll be done. You just need to know the fundamental words, know that those words sound scary for absolutely no reason. And once you do that, you can figure it out, right? So large language model, that sounds pretty simple, but then when they start LLM, it sounds confusing. All it just means is, specifically with generative AI chat, right? It's what's already on the internet. That's what the large language is, the large language of the past 25 to 30 years of the internet. From Reddit to everything that you've done, every time you hearted your auntie's favorite dress, okay? All of that is what generative AI by default is pulling from. It's pulling from you anyway. That's all it is. Same thing with the visuals, same thing with the audio, right? That's it. Once you know that, it's not that mysterious. It's not because they say like, oh, we don't know. We don't even know what it's generating. Yes, y'all do. So watch 60 Minutes sometimes. Know that 60 Minutes is gonna scare, it's gonna be like, they have an angle, right? But that's one angle, that's one source. I would diversify, I'm in the business of diversity. I would diversify my sources on AI. Right? I have a podcast too. I've interviewed some of the Hod Lipson, who's a School of Business for Columbia University. Like, so think top tier, right? But then also think other ways in which other people are having formal and also informal conversations about AI. And in all of that, you'll be able to figure out like, oh, okay, I can do this, and you can do this. I don't know what time Barnes & Noble's closes today, but this is Dr. Joy, okay? I met her at South by Southwest, okay? So her book, Unmasking AI, get it, right? That's one. This is a can do, right? Or borrow it from the library, right? Then 2, Kashmir Hill, met her at MoMA, a screening for Floyd Abrams, who's a founding father of the modern interpretation of the First Amendment. He's also defending Clearview AI. It's a whole thing. I interviewed him on my podcast. So she wrote a book called Your Face Belongs to Us. She's a writer for the New York Times. So these are just 2 huge resources on AI that you can, like, trusted, vetted, that you can use. You can also come up to me. But yeah, don't be scared of all the fancy language. You all got this. Woo! Questions?
Thank you. I'm going to give Laura the last word, but I could see that there are questions in the audience. So I'm going to ask folks, if you have questions, please start to make your way to our one microphone off on the side. Laura will have the last word, and then we will start our Q&A.
Sure. I don't know if I have anything super extra valuable to add. I mean, there's some experts on the stage here. I will just say I use it in my day-to-day. It's probably decreased my administrative workload by at least 25%. I didn't realize how much of my day was spent trying to craft something, trying to brainstorm something. Now if I'm ever stuck, I just open it up and say, hey, what do you think of this? It's almost like my little buddy that's there. Even if you can even have a difficult conversation with a friend and say, hey, ChatGPT, this is really heavy and emotional. Do you have ideas for me? So, I look forward to the day where like one day, let's say 10, 15, 20 years from now, someone watches this talk on a YouTube clip and they like LOL because they're like, oh my gosh, they were talking about AI like we used to talk about the internet.
Like the internet.
I love those old school like early 90s like broadcasts were like, oh, you gotta go check your email and the www. Like one day I hope we sound like that. Right now we sound like visionaries and like, super forward thinking, but like I think AI will make the human connection that much more valuable. So I don't see AI as a threat to what I do. I see it as like superhuman robot. It's like, if I had a calculator, why would I do math by hand? Now I have this extra tool. And, AI, to many people's points, it has been around for a while. This is just one of the first consumer-facing uses of it that we've seen, which is why it kind of blows our mind. But it has been around. It's just now being more commercially available and more consumer-facing. So I, for one, look forward to that. So, yeah.
Where there is uncertainty, there is opportunity. And that is what these folks are telling you, right? Find your place in it, have a point of view on it, do your homework because it's here to stay and it's not going anywhere. A huge round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. And if you are coming to the microphone for questions, just quickly say your name and your school or whichever organization you represent, and we'll get you answers to your questions.
Hello. Thank you. Oh, thanks a lot. Hi, how are you? Thanks so much for coming tonight to explain these things. I really appreciate it. It's my first time at one of these events, so I'm very happy and grateful to be here. So I was wanting to ask, as a recent graduate from an MFA program at City College, I've been having some difficulty combining my retail experience and film production experience, on set. I do sound. To get these type of roles in media and tech, I was wondering if you could be able to give me some advice on how I would be able to make both of these experiences work for me in order to get a media or tech-oriented role.
So since we have a lot of folks, I'm going to give it to each I'm going to assign it to a panelist. I would give it to Laura.
Okay, great. I find that experience really valuable. Anything that's customer facing, anything that's, you can use your customer service skills. For me, when it comes to your resume, that story is sort of like trying to quantify that as much as possible. Instead of your resume just being like a list of like what you've done, try and to the points of the other panelists, like say what you did that was special about it. Instead, like you can make something like ordering lunch sound really amazing if it's like researched options and came up with the, researched, all of the dietary restrictions of 100-person crew and found the best, it's a little wordy, but like it, just like, don't just tell me what you did, tell me what impact you had and what you brought to that task or experience. And no task is too big or too small. Like I said, approach things with enthusiasm. So no matter what, when I was first starting out, whatever the task that I was given, I was like, whatever this is, I'm just going to do it better than anyone else could possibly do it. And then remember what I did that was special about it and then tell that story and make sure that they know because it's not enough just to do it. You have to then tell other people you did it. So a little bit of self-promotion goes a long way.
Self-promotion. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. Next.
Hello. Wait. Hi. Am I this close? Yes?
You can get a little closer.
Okay. Like this?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Noemi. I'm actually one of the interns here at CENTCOM. So I'm really happy to have you guys here. Thanks for your time. This question is for Vanessa. You mentioned a bit earlier about being humble and knowing when you're in positions to like just go by that day like that, little bit by little. My question is, how would you differentiate being humble in one spot and then knowing your worth and saying, okay, I have to move on from this, rather than say, oh, I'm just doing this and that, or I just did this and that, rather than kind of step up a little bit more and going to another path in your career? I'm not sure if I worded that correctly.
So what I'm hearing is, how do you know when to decide to move on? So do we know Mary Kondo, the lady that like would clean her house excessively? There was something that she said that I think is applicable in this situation. So when you're cleaning your house, she would thank the item for its service, right? Thank you for your service, and she would toss it out or donate it. In the same way, sometimes we have experiences that reach the thank you for your service moment. And so there's nothing wrong with you owning, right, and recognizing that you've taken from that one opportunity as much as you can, and now you need to pivot and find something else so that you can thank it for its service. You don't get complacent, and you should feel empowered to know that you are now competent in whatever it is that you were looking to achieve, right? Or that you were successful in sort of meeting the expectations of that initial job. So there's no specific timeline. You don't have to stay anywhere for a certain amount of time. And you don't owe anyone anything. Like, this is your life. Mm-hmm. You do you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Julia. I'm currently a senior at Baruch College, and my question goes for any of the panelists. This morning I took a quiz, and it was about AI and business policy, and my professor asked the question that I want to ask you. Currently with interviewing for certain roles, they have you do a 1-minute hire review interview, something of the sort process where you're recording or talking to a screen, you have 1 minute to say what you have to say, and that's it. So I wanted to ask if you have any kind of advice on how to overcome that kind of interview process to make sure you can get further into if you don't have some kind of network or someone that can help push you a little bit forward in that way to get.
I was going to say, Angelique, would you like that one as our video creator?
So I would say specifically for tech companies like Google, not saying necessarily in the video interview process, whatever job you may be applying for, but for Google, if you're applying for any job at Google, and this is for everyone, take notes on this, your resume will not pass through the system unless you have keywords from that job description, even if you're the best candidate, even if you have a referral or you don't have a referral. So when you are doing these video interviews, make sure that you're pulling from that job description to provide keywords from whatever job you may be applying for, because we use, and I know a lot of the other tech companies use AI to basically determine whether or not you're a good candidate based off of the job description. That's before you even get passed on through to HR. So that is the best piece of advice, because I've had a lot of people that I've referred that got passed over because they did not update their resume for each job they applied for at Google. So,
And if I can share super fast, 2 things. One, for those of you who might think legal is going to be huge for AI. So some of you might want to go to law school, wink, wink, and study AI, and then that job is going to be indispensable. Think about that. 2, for you, I would run it through ChatGPT and then do a video. Hey, ChatGPT, I need to do a 1 minute summary on why I'm the best candidate. Put in your resume into ChatGPT, because I've done this for other friends. I've coached them on how to get these jobs. Put your resume in there, put the job description in there, and then read what it tells you, right? Time it for a minute, trim it if need be, but then tweak it so that it sounds more authentically you, and then boop, there you go. And then tell it about the keywords. Tell it. I want it to be, a little casual. You can tell it what tone you want it to take as well, or what you want to amplify. But then say keywords, and then run it, and then. So it's inverted. I heard one talk where this man said that AI is going to be in the C-suite with you, meaning it's a thought partner. Right, so run your chat GPT like it's in the C-suite, honey.
Or duet AI
tell it to take yeah. What you say?
Or duet AI through Google. That also is.
Well, there you go. Well, there's
but
all
please
of.
check for plagiarism before you
It's a branding thing, but yes, yeah, because I don't just use that one. I use all of them. That's a whole other thing. But yes, and tell it to get me into the C-suite. Prompt it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Nicole Sarfo, and I am a fellow at the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. My question can literally be answered by any of you, but what kind of legacy do you want to leave back in your within your respective industries? Anyone can answer this.
Like to take that
I can start with that one, just because one thing that I did want to bring up in this conversation is about how Google is promoting diversity. And one way that they're doing that is by next year, they're trying to increase representation amongst Black, Latinx plus, and Indigenous people by 30% next year. And a part of that initiative is that they introduced the sales program, that's a sales leadership program, ambassador program, where it promotes 5 to 7 people who basically will be aligned with the business leaders that are in sales. And I was one of those people that were involved in that cohort. And it's giving exposure to minorities that necessarily don't have that exposure to leadership. So when you ask the question about the legacy, it's I want to be one of those people in leaderships, because when you look at these companies, it's not diverse. It may be diverse at the mid to lower level, but when you look at the C-suite, it's not as diverse as it could be. So I do want to be a part of these opportunities at Google or any company that I have the opportunity to be a part of, to get that exposure to leadership, so I am able to progress in my career.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ife Adelona, and I'm a graduate of Fordham University, but currently attend Rice for my MBA. My question is, how has data changed your approach to strategy within your department? We talked a little bit about teachers and how data has changed the way that they're evaluated, and just want to know more.
I'll give this to Kanini. There's something else besides education, a good industry example.
Oh, for data, I mean, the ad tech use case is huge. Just in terms of, again, cookies are a thing, right? Whether you realize it or not, all this data is being, the cache, like all of this is already being gathered. But because of AI, they can literally say, oh, you know what? Elvis's birthday's coming up, and we know that she loves Elvis. We're gonna put those sunglasses that she looked up 3 weeks ago. We're gonna put Elvis in those sunglasses and put that ad near, the blog that she's about to read online. So that's the level to which data can be used on a personal level for an ad tech solution or ad tech use case. But I mean, yeah, my industry, I touch all the other industries all the time. I'm being approached by this one particular company to do design. DEI is design thinking, right? So again, DEI GPT, right? Instead of thinking from the beginning, think from the end. What if inclusion was the goal through which every other use case was then put on top of? What if you start with inclusion, right? So that's what I do with DEI GPT. So DEI GPT can then be used with various different companies to say, you know what, we're already knee deep in the product design. We're already knee deep in our rollout, but let's pivot to use the data of inclusion to say, okay, how much more would inclusion increase our bottom line or reach more people or improve our brand image? Right? So there's various ways in which, because of AI will be able to do tabulations like that within, like, not even blink your eyes twice. And then again, from a human level, what do you then do with those data insights? That's how you're gonna be able to keep a job, get promoted in a job, or get a job. AI can do a lot, but again, your eyes. What do you see that other people won't see, including AI, is how you will then stay on top.
Thank you.
With data.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sayukta. I'm a graduate student from New School. And my question is, how is AI helping in social media marketing, or what is the future of AI in the field of marketing?
Vanessa, working closely with your international business folks, how have you seen it impact marketing?
That's a loaded question. And, I think the way I see it affecting our business, especially globally, is although AI is going to be pulling from all of these different language models, the markets will vary, right? So from a global perspective, the approach that an individual takes specific to marketing, right, if they're trying to market to a certain segment of the population, that may look very different if it's sort of American-centric, right? So the way we market to a Latina in America is going to be very different than the way, potentially, that we would market to Latinas living in Europe or Latinas living in South America, right? And so AI, when you think about that being an assistive tool, it's only going to be able to do and market in ways that we either are already marketing or the way we teach it to market. And so this is why I'm saying, where do you, like earlier when I said interrogate the process, right? Just because AI is making a recommendation doesn't mean that it's not missing something, because it's pulling from what exists today. And we are not represented in the media landscape, in my opinion, I'll speak for myself, we're not represented, right? And so I think, again, it's with a caveat that the way we market will feel different given the assistance of AI, but you can't lose sight of the people right? Centering the people experience and the people, what we as consumers are looking for, because we're just so complex. Does that answer your question?
Of course, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if I can, super fast. So last year, DEI GPT was invited to present at Cara Dentsu, which is one of the biggest media marketing agencies on the planet. And this is what we were asked, right? Like, there's a lot of controversy now, right? So like, do you use AI models or do you use real people? But because people of certain hues, certain genders, certain marginalized groups have yet to be represented in the real world. Now we're going to use AI. We're going to prompt AI, get us a Latina model. Boom, here you go. So, there's two things, right? There's authenticity, right, within the AI space, right? So advocating. So that's what DEI GPT does. We are more nuanced for facial features, accents, you name it. We are there to be the answer to the writ large generative AI, but then again, specifically for different use cases, thinking from an inclusion-centered standpoint, right? So that's one. And then two, like I said, on the other side, in terms of what are we gonna do when AI, quote unquote, replaces us? Like, from a modeling standpoint, there's ways in which you can also advocate that when AI is used, right? Because people have not seen themselves, right? How can that also be as authentic and accurate as possible? So I think it's a bifurcation, it's a both and instead of either or. But these conversations that are needed, that's how we're gonna transform the industry and translate authenticity based on who people actually are.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm representing BMCC as an animation and motion graphics student. And I would love to know the types of courses you took during your undergraduate years that was a pivotal point and provided transferable skills that you use in your careers today.
I'm gonna give that to you, Laura.
Sure. I studied psychology and theater. And here's the thing, like I graduated in 2002. I'll go ahead and say it. And listen, a lot of that information's already old, right? It's not as applicable. So I would say my studies definitely inspired me. It definitely opened my mind to different ideas and different curriculum, certainly than what I was getting in high school. But I think being the lifelong learner and the lifelong student has been like super important. I was still handing in my papers by going to computer lab and typing them up and printing them out. If I stayed in that education system without reinventing myself every 3 or 4 years, I think I would have fell behind. So I think like the combination of psychology and theater, I think the throughway for me was the people aspect. And I now work in a very people-centric type of role. So I think, understanding people, understanding their motivations, understanding, how to really connect with them was the psychology side of my degree. And then the theater aspect was, being comfortable in all different situations, talking to like all different types of candidates and just being able to strike up that like rapport and learning about someone kind of as fast as possible in a short amount of time. So I would say my academics certainly helped me and drove me, but it by no means was like the end all be all. Your education does not stop once you graduate. Like I would say that what I learned on the job ultimately became just as, if not more valuable than my credentials. And it's another reason why I think it'll be interesting to see what the education path looks like for some of these roles, because I think with a lot of education and some of the barriers to education and the financial barriers, like it will be really interesting to see how that evolves over time. I think we're still kind of playing from a blueprint that was sent generations before when it comes to that. But yeah, lifelong learning, big fan, and my studies certainly inspired me, but definitely didn't necessarily drive me to like any kind of foregone conclusions when I graduated. It was a very like interactive process with life to figure out how to get here, I think.
Internships. I'll just add that, get that like hands-on experience during college. But I mentioned earlier how I originally wanted to be a host of 106 in Park. I hope that's ingrained in you guys' mind because I may be that still one day. Yes. But it's like having that experience, that exposure to a company that you wanted to work for, but getting access to different departments within that company will help to dictate and help you to navigate through the industry a little bit more and open up your mind to different career opportunities that you wouldn't even think about. So I would say like hands-on experience, like college courses. I don't remember any course that I took in college. Honestly, it was the internships I had in college that really helped to direct my path.
Thank you. Last question. Thank you for waiting so patiently.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I work at a program that helps 18 through 24-year-olds find employment. My question is that I'm just curious if one of you could share what I know we already talked about internships and that you guys, a lot of you have backgrounds in acting, but I was wondering if you could share what your very, very, very first job was and what you learned at that job and how you apply that to your current role now.
Very quickly. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay, so I worked at Texas Roadhouse. Does anyone know what that is? Okay.
My favorite restaurant in Virginia.
Okay. Well, I went through it. People are so nasty sometimes, and I think what I learned from that job was you have to, sometimes you're going to be around people that are just unpleasant, and you can't control how other people react, but you can control your reactions to situations. And I think that job tested me more than even my classroom times, because especially when you don't know someone and they come for you and you're like, really? It takes a lot to kind of like keep it together. And you will find yourself in that space in the workplace. I mean, unfortunately, you're not always going to get along with everyone that you work with. And unfortunately, you're going to find people that come to work really upset because of something that is not your fault. And they will take it out on you. And it's the composure that you keep and killing them with kindness that will get you through the day and then help you build your network to like thank that job for its service and keep it moving.
Thank you very much. And now we have some round of applause for our panel. Thank you very much. And now we have some closing remarks from Neda Martinez.
Thank you, Alexandra, for your wisdom and grace and for facilitating such a beautiful, grounded, real, powerful conversation. It was so accessible. There are so many key takeaways. Again, they documented thanks to BRIC, and they have a great archive of these talks online at the Center of Communication. I want to thank you so deeply, Kanene, Laura, Vanessa, Angelique, and our beautiful moderator, Alexandra. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, the New York Mayor's Office. But thank you, nourishing yourself, coming here, showing up, asking the questions, just being together in this space is wonderful. And here at the New School, these are our values, and I'm here again to be a resource, and just again, feel free to look me up at the university website, Neda Martinez. I'm the director of the media management program, and it's really great to have this deep and beautiful partnership with you, Max, and Center for Communication. So keep on coming, show up, ask questions, stay curious, don't be afraid, and we have to be in it to win it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.